this demonstration, we're going to look at setting up domain security. So domain security refers to a set of functionality that we get with Exchange Server 2010, and it provides a relatively low cost alternative to using SMIME or other message level security solutions. The whole purpose of this feature is to provide administrators with a way to manage secured message paths over the internet with our business partners. After we've secured these message paths, what we're going to do here is we're going to send mail backwards and forwards, and after the mail successfully travelled over the secured path from the authenticated sender, what the users will get displayed, they will get displayed domain secured to all of the users in the Outlook and Outlook web app interface. So at this point here, we can take that as trusted. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to come into our Edge transport server so that we can just verify that the certificates are in place for our receive connector. In order to do this, we just need to go over to the certificate snapping. So on the certificate snapping, we're concerned about the computer certificates. We'll have a look at the personal certificates at this point here and just have a look at the certificates in place. So what we've got here is we've got our WAN Edge certificate. So we'll just double click on this thing here. So as we can see, it's currently not trusted, but you know, lab environment, I'm not too fussed about that. If we then have a look at the details, we can see all the details of the certificate, and we can have a look at the certification path. So it's a self-signed certificate. Obviously, if we were using this in the real world, what we'd need here is we'd need some sort of trusted certificate in place. So we'll just click OK here, just to prove we do have the certificate in place and it is used for server authentication. Next thing we're going to do is just close down the Microsoft Management Console. We won't bother saving any settings within here, I'm not going to use that again. Then what we're going to do here is we're just going to come into the Exchange Management Console. And within the Exchange Management Console, what we're going to do here is we're just going to come into the receive connectors and modify the receive connectors. Right, so into receive connectors. And what we're going to do on receive connectors here, we're just going to have a look at this default internal receive connector. Obviously in the real world, if we were setting up domain security, we'd be setting up a specific connector to be used for that domain security. We'll have a look at the properties. Once this thing launches up here, I'm concerned about the authentication tab. So onto the authentication tab, and as we can see here, we've got transport layer security set up here. We've enabled domain security as well. So we have the tick boxes in place. We've got our Exchange Server authentication in place as well. So we'll click OK at this point here. Now that we've got that set up. Next thing we're going to do here is we're just going to go to WAN AX1 and we're going to specify within there the send connector and ensure that that is set up correctly as well. So we will have this secure connection in place. So what we're going to do here is just come up to the organization configuration, go to Hub Transport, we're going to have a look at the send connector. This will refresh. Once it refreshes, we'll have a look at the Edge Sync send connector that has been configured. And we're going to have a look at the default first site name. So we'll have a look in here. Have a look on the network tab. And what we need to ensure here is that we've got the domain security also set up here. So that's great. That's all done. The next thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go into the Exchange Management Shell and just actually configure the transport configuration to give us a secure connection to the contoso.com domain. So we've typed in our set transport config. We specified the TLS send domain secure list for contoso.com. What we also need to do is we need to set up the receive domain secure list as well. So we'll hit return at this point here. Next thing we need to do, like we said, set up the receive. So there you go, set transport config, TLS receive domain secure list, contoso.com. Hit return. What we'll then do is we'll just verify all of this by using the get transport config, and that what we'll do is we'll do a formatted list. So here we go, hit return. And as we can see here, it's got all of the settings in place here, so we can see that everything's set up correctly. We've got the domain secure list, receive list as well within here, so send and receive. It's all enabled. Well, the last thing we have to do now is just synchronize all of this to our Edge transport server to set up the Edge transport server as well. So within here, we'll start our Edge synchronization. That's now synchronized through all of this configuration. We've now set up domain security, so any email we now receive from contoso.com will be notified within the email that this has come from a secure domain. So that's the end of the demonstration, setting up domain security.